Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
And here we go. This is the Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Go to cityheatandair.com. It's all about integrity with City Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Dave Hooker. Please press that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. We get a chance to visit with Cooper Mays, Tennessee's offensive lineman, and it is now time to visit with the media and get kind of the blood flowing in practice. If you can, just talk about how Cooper is a ramping up period. I mean, obviously you don't go out there in full pads, but just kind of how long it takes to ramp up to where you're really going out there and it's a full physical practice.
Yeah, I mean, a couple days in, you're pretty comfortable, to being at 100% kind of. I mean, it obviously takes a few days to knock the rust off, but after a few days, you're kind of good to go and just you're playing at the level of football that you would play during the season, basically.
So, do you like getting the pads on? Usually they have a couple of shell drills, but do you like getting the pads on?
It just depends. If during shells they let you wear shorts, I'd rather be in shells. But if you're gonna wear football pants when you're in shells, then you might as well just go full pads, basically, at that point. I mean, the amount of hitting is never different. It's just being able to say you're in shells or you're in full pads, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So I had this idea, and it may be stupid, so you can make fun of me. But instead of made men, maze men, just however many guys you want to give a shout out to, especially on the offensive or defensive front, that you thought had a fantastic offseason. You've already mentioned a couple, but now that we're going into practice, who are some guys that you said, man, he brought his lunch pail every day?
I would probably have to start with Jerome Carvin. I work out with Jerome, so that would probably have to be my first person. He's a guy that has a consistent energy every day. That he comes to work with the right mentality and works with with intention to every detail. Really, I would say Hendon Hooker is that type of guy. Elijah Simmons changed his body a lot. I don't lift with the defense, so I can't give shout out to anybody on the defense because I don't lift with any of them. But Elijah Simmons really changed his body a lot. I think I saw. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you could shout out. I don't really know. Jay Wright, Jabari Small, the whole running back group that I work out with is they work out really well. I don't know. It's hard to name everybody, but a lot of people have had really good summers.
Well, you did mention Simmons, and you'd mentioned how strong he was before. So now you talk about how he's changed his body. That being the case, how good can he be? What's his ceiling?
Yeah, he can be as good as you can imagine. He's somebody that's extremely powerful and athletic, as far as being quick. He's explosive. He's strong as an ox. You really can't put a limit on what his potential is. He's just got to put it together on the football field and know how to translate it better.
Yeah, he had he was on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? He was trying to trim down. You were trying to add weight. But
Right.
what do you think is more challenging to the guys you talk to?
Shoot. I mean, you can't really pin it down for everybody. It's hard because just people's metabolisms are so different. Even me and Cade, we're 2 years or a year and 11 months apart, from the same mom and dad, and he needs to lose weight and I need to gain weight. So you never really can put a number on it. It just depends on the person, I guess.
What are some of the goals of this offensive line, Cooper, as you go into the season? What would you like to improve at, even without your brother there? It's a new group, but where would you like to be better?
We would definitely like to be better in cutting down the amount of sacks that we gave up. Just cleaning up also our missed assignments in the run game. I think that would lead to a lot more efficient runs. And then, I mean, I think just knowing better football, just being smarter about football all around as a group. I think those are three things that we kind of need to work on. But the first step in everything is just cutting down the amount of total sacks.
Yeah. So As far as just keeping Hendon upright,
Right.
how important is that? Because obviously you got some playmakers on the outside.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really everything. I mean, as the offensive line, you take pride in protecting your ball carriers, either if that's the running back, the quarterback, the tight end, wide receiver, whatever. So if you got a quarterback back there that's getting sacked a lot, that's not good, and you don't want him on the ground at all.
You addressed the running back position who you do work out with. What are your thoughts there? Because I feel like they were good, but there is another step for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they look great. I've always been a big fan of our running back club back there, and they've got tons of guys that can put in a lot of production. So you got some special type guys in there, and they're working out really hard this summer. You can see the progression of maturity in all of them, and you know you can't put a limit on them either. Just like I was talking about Elijah, I mean, you can't put a limit on their potential as a group.
Is there anything in particular that you see out of Jabari, maybe that is a little bit different than your average cat?
Yeah, his ability to make people miss, especially the first guy, is about second to none. He's a smaller back, but he's got so much elusiveness and just ability to stop on a dime and switch directions. And you watch certain runs and you see him just like put a foot in the ground and will just go from like 100 to zero, and then the person will just fly past him and then he'll be back to 100 in a half second. So he's got a rare ability to stop and start.
Yeah, so you will probably be one. I don't know if you are for sure. Maybe you know by now, maybe you don't. Selected to talk to the media, so that will be in one of the areas in Neyland Stadium. I can't believe I haven't asked you this before, but do you remember the very first time you walked into Neyland Stadium? Given that your dad played there, is that a memory?
Um, well, the first time I walked in there, it was before I could remember anything, so I guess it's not really accurate. I don't really know. The first time, I really don't even remember honestly, because I've been here so much. It's I don't know. It's hard for me to remember the first time. My first game that would have been who was my first? Who was the first game of the COVID year? It was South Carolina, then Mizzou at home. That was a fun game. So I remember that one. That was pretty special. It just stinks that I had to be with like 15,000 fans.
Is it? Well, yeah. So, but do you remember any of the games as a kid at all? I can still remember being at a Notre Dame Tennessee game way back in the early '90s, and you got Rocket Ismail and all that. Is there any one game that as a kid stands out to you at all?
Yeah, I think my favorite game growing up was probably when Baker Mayfield came in here when he was a really young guy. I don't know how young he was. It was maybe like 2015, 16, something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. We got beat, but it was like the loudest I had ever heard in Neyland Stadium. So that was probably one of my coolest memories. I just wish we would have won. But other than that, it was pretty cool for
Yeah,
sure.
there's probably a lot of lessons to learn from Baker Mayfield, but I'll just kind of let that lie. with, with other guys that you've been around, when it crosses that line of being confident to
Right.
cocky, do you just have to kind of check
Right.
somebody and say, "Hey, now."
Uh, I mean, I don't know. It just depends on the type of person you are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty unbothered in life in general, like especially about people that I'm not very fond of. So I don't know. I mean, if you want them to stop, you can talk to them, but I kind of just let people be. If you want to do that, you want to do it.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, do you have, and I'm not going to ask for the individual players or teams, but I could probably guess a couple. But are there individual players or teams that you kind of circle on the schedule and you say, man, he kind of bettered me last year, got the best of me. I would like a little bit of revenge. Is that something you look at for the whole season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can put down any team that beat us that we're playing again this year. I mean, I think we've got unfinished business, especially the teams that we played earlier in the year, like Pitt and Florida. I mean, those are two teams that I feel like we got so much better as the season went that I feel like if we would have played them again, it would have been a different story. So we'll have to see how it goes this year.
Yeah. So do you identify certain players that maybe played well against you that are back this year?
Um, no, I'm not really sure. I'm just really excited to have a year where I'm healthy and feeling confident on my feet again, really. So whoever I play again next, I feel like I'll have a better game against them than I did last year.
Good stuff. The Vol Report with Cooper Mays brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Go to cityheatandair.com. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.